Good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ, Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Hamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you. Mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. Good morning, this is Dan Gatis, and chiming in for a terrific Tuesday with Nina Postupack and Cameron Rylance. Tuesday, October 5th, 55 degrees. We'll be right back.
Thanks for starting your day with Kingston Community Radio on 920 WGHQ AM Kingston and 92.5 W223CR FM Kingston, New York. Magic 92.5.
Introducing the YMCA. What, you already know the why? Or so you think. Sure, you know the why for a swim, a workout, even a game of hoops. But did you know we're more than that? We're a cause. When you take your jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Take a cardio class, while kids are in an after-school enrichment program. Practice your downward-facing dog as a teen practices her leadership skills. That's the why. We work with people no matter their age, income, or background and give them the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive, all with one simple goal in mind, to strengthen our community. And we've got so much more that does just that. So while you might think of the Y as that place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. Introducing the Y. We're so much more than a place. We're a cause. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, my name is George Post from Ulster Park, New York, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you. Where else can you speak to your local representatives on the air and have your questions answered? So thank you and support KCR.
And we're back, and thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. A little bit about the weather. We'll get going here. It changed a little bit for tomorrow. It's not going to be quite as pretty tomorrow. We've got a slight chance of a rain shower today, as continues from last night, a high of 63. Cloudy and a slight chance of a rain shower tonight as well. It's about a 20% for each segment of the day. And Wednesday, cloudy skies with a slight chance of rain continuing with a high of 69 for Wednesday. And Wednesday night, considerable cloudiness with a low of 56. And again, that nagging little bit of rain possibility continues until Thursday. Partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 73. And a few clouds on Thursday night with a low of 56. Okay, and let's get to the on-air studio with Nina Postupack and Cameron Rylance. Good morning.
Good morning.
And it is a terrific Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday? Is it Monday night still, or is it Tuesday?
I know. I agree with you, Cameron.
I woke up before my alarm went off, and I was like, my clock must be wrong. Something happened last night. It cannot be this dark.
Did that change so fast? How did it change so fast?
Well,
for
I
us?
think the thick cloud covers
Doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Yeah, right.
help.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be.
and,
we were just talking about daylight savings when that.
Yeah. When
all
did anybody
happens.
have an idea?
Did that last weekend in October?
Well, that's Halloween's on a Sunday, right?
Yeah,
So
yes.
Last possible day of the year.
I think it
Or
did.
the
Or
month,
maybe
the last.
the following weekend. I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out. If anybody knows, call in 331-9255.
It's a call-in show.
That's right.
Well, I was just saying, this calendar, and every single day, it's a year, annual calendar. Every single day, I'm sorry, I'm picking up a story Nina and I were having off air before. But every single day has like a thing on it, like National Hot Dog Day, or Bring your dog to work day, or Daddy-Daughter Day. It's cool. It's like every single day of the year, and some of them have multiple things, like
So that's very interesting, and you don't realize it, right?
And that calendar, I'm sure, would have daylight saving, the phases of the moon. It's really cool. It's like
it is
an old. It's like a personal digital assistant on paper, or whatever. Gives you all the quirky things.
Well, I have to tell you, God's honest truth, I still use my actual daytimer handwrite calendar.
I have my week at a glance, my yearly weekly calendar. I have every one for the last 20 years.
I do too. I keep all mine too.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
why.
could tell you what I did just 7 years ago. Or
Yes.
12 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Same thing. I must have.
I got to. I just
20 years.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
That's okay.
I just realized yesterday, the day before, I have to buy a new one. Yep.
Dan showing us his. Yeah.
I have to buy a new one.
Yeah, that's my complete journal. It's not quite every day, but then one page will be a week worth of to-dos. That kind of
absolutely.
thing.
But every time I flip a new page, I write 7 to 9 on Tuesday mornings.
Yeah, you're right. Right. First thing go down those Tuesdays.
What the heck was I just going to say? Calendars.
I'm seeing that it's less and less convenient having the handwritten calendar because so many times I wish I had it on my phone, and I use my phone for everything, but I just can't get myself to use that calendar.
On your calendar, you're like my office. I have Gmail, right? My personal and my business, and my business uses all the G Suite of whatever.
Right. Google Docs.
Like you get an email from somebody. Oh, there's a meeting next Wednesday, and it reads your email and puts it in the calendar.
In the calendar, yes.
It's kind of creepy and intrusive. But if I hit my calendar on my phone, everything that I don't everything, it's weird.
Right there.
It's all there. Yeah.
Yeah, it is right there.
It's invasive. Speaking of invasive, what happened with Facebook yesterday?
Oh, I know. Facebook went down.
It went down.
I don't know at all.
I had no idea. I heard people talking about it last night, and then this morning, had to kill 10 minutes. So I put it on Facebook, and all sorts of posts. It apparently went black or dark.
Yeah, it did. All day.
And
it didn't come back up to I'm going to say 5, 6 o'clock at night from 11 in the morning.
And there was some a critical article or a critical report about them on 60 Minutes on Sunday night.
Yes.
Which I don't know what it exposed, but
basically that there's a lot of negativity that comes across on Facebook, and Facebook is aware of it and has done nothing about it. And on Instagram, supposedly the mental health of young teenage girls are really
suffering.
Yes,
drastically.
Yes, because of Instagram.
It's not just teenage girls; it's everyone, adults.
Yeah.
But teenage girls radically higher numbers.
Yes,
because of their point in life. Self-esteem issues, body issues, peer pressure, school. Yeah, it's terrible, and online bullying and.
Yeah, no.
I should go blank forever, as far as I'm concerned. I thought the world was a way better place before we had social media. Computers are help, internet and all that. It's cool.
At least I have 100 less. If it went black, and this is all I know, I have 100 less posts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. Life goes on. Still got to go to work. Still have your call.
Yes.
But if all that social media stuff disappeared, I would not mind one bit.
No.
Go back to weekly newsletters in the mail or whatever. You don't need whatever. But that's never going to happen.
And I believe that said Facebook has been in existence for 18, 19 years. It feels like there are times that we never were without Facebook, doesn't it?
Which mirrors the decline of Western civilization.
Yeah, right. This is true. So it wasn't a hack. It wasn't where they were held captive and they wanted a ransom. It was something they think when they did the maintenance of the system, somebody
chipped over the cord.
Yeah, right.
It's literally simple as that. A cup of coffee gets spilled. Technicians are people too. What was the famous NASA blunder when they thought it was they did English and metric or whatever, oops.
Daylight savings is November 7th.
Thank you,
the
Dan.
week after Halloween.
The weekend after. Right. Okay.
Thank you, caller.
Yes.
Listener and caller.
Yes.
So hopefully Heidi Kirschner will be our guest at 7:30.
Yes, and it's our history Tuesday.
Nancy is bringing a guest. Gentleman, I forget his name, it's on my phone, but I wrote a new book about the Ashokan Reservoir dam construction, which is
very interesting.
A lot of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bill Merchant,
human
of course,
questions
at 8.
And I know the mechanical and how they've surveyed it and figured out the water and the legal, but where did all the workers live and stuff? And what are they would have had to have a city for the workers. There's thousands of people employed up there.
Yes, there was.
Cooks and I have those nuts and bolts questions that I've never really.
So we did a whole exhibit at one point on the Ashokan Reservoir, and one of the things that we found very interesting from the human nature aspect of it was the court proceedings. We have all the transcripts when the city of New York came in and took all the people's lands.
Yeah.
They took their businesses, their homes, and really. And for a very minimal amount of money, not for what it was worth. And, of course, that intrinsic, that family value that you can't put a price on. And it was very sad to listen to some of those transcripts where people were like, this is our livelihood, this has been our family for hundreds of years. I mean, the stories just went on. And that whole, and they actually just posted. They went up there and posted on the tree trunks and so forth at the courthouse. Your property's going to be sold.
They had gotten like permission from the state or something. I mean, they couldn't.
Yeah, they were doing like legally.
Eminent domain, whatever.
Right, they did it legally. Absolutely, it was a court proceeding, and then the judge would decide. Each person would testify. And we have all those transcripts, and then the judge would decide on the price. Yeah, no, it was all done legally, but just amazing what happened there. 5 years to build it. 5 years. So, and the Italians, we have a whole section in one of the teaching packets that we do about the Ashokan Reservoir. Quite a few Italians worked on that project. But it'll be interesting to see what Frank has to say.
Like the stonework. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of stonework involved with it. They didn't have like concrete like we do now. We have chucks, so they stonework with spillway.
Yeah. And the lost towns that are underneath the reservoir. So, yeah, it should be very interesting. So that's at 8:30 with Nancy Chando. And it was Uptown was absolutely phenomenal this past weekend. To those of you who are listening and did not have the opportunity to go uptown, they had the Stockade Festival. And they had cars and entertainment and booths. And then the farmer's market was going on.
Yeah, I strolled through. We had a big fundraiser yard sale at the Elks Lodge.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Which I thought was tremendous. We raised like $1,200.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's all,
Wonderful.
We, the Elks Lodge, we made netted $165 selling hot dogs and macaroni salad, and that's earmarked. Kiwanis as well is earmarking it toward the youth services and some of that mentor. All of ours going to the Mentor Me program.
Fantastic.
Stephanie
you had a beautiful day for
it. Oh, it was gorgeous. But so anyhow, about noontime, I personally felt we could have had more people walking through the yard sale, but apparently it was good. So we made some Copenhagen, cut open some cardboard boxes, and we made some homemade yard sale signs. 143, Elks Lodge, and I went uptown and actually, I stapled them to the DPW sawhorses. All the roads, the four sides where it says the road block.
Yes, they were all across the road there. Yes.
I don't know if they tore them off, but oh well.
That's
for charity. It's for charity.
Absolutely.
And a couple of people said, "Oh, I saw your sign at the street festival uptown," and so it worked.
Yeah, sure. People love yard sales. Absolutely.
We had some really good stuff.
That's great. Yeah. And you made some money.
We made money for our
the Mentor
youth
Me
outreach. Kiwanis youth programming. Speaking of Kiwanis, the Capers is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The 22nd, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 22, 23, 24, I believe, at Bailey. $10 tickets, best price in town. Written by Steve Klein.
Who does a tremendous job. Fantastic
He was on the radio
job.
a month or so ago. I don't know if I can get him on before then, but yeah, The God Brother. It's a sort of a spoof on, not a spoof, it's like an alternate reality of what happened if Fredo in The Godfather was more powerful. So it's sort of like the Mandalorian of Star Wars. This is to The Godfather.
Can you tell us what part you play in?
Fortunately for all the fans out there, I have a pretty small part. Well, I'm like a background actor, walk-on. I'm a gangster.
You're a gangster,
I'm just like sort of background eye candy, if you will.
Well, that's a good thing. So,
which is a good thing because there's a big staff development retreat for work I have to be involved with that week. I might miss a couple rehearsals and.
Oh yeah, so it's better off that you didn't have.
And then on Thursday, my whole staff, all 7 of us they're going to the Capers. So.
Oh.
So it'll be fun.
That'll be really nice.
I wish I had a bigger part, but I kind of glad I don't because I wouldn't be able to rehearse it.
It's a cameo.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a cameo.
There you go, Dan.
There you go.
It's a cameo.
Oh,
I like
cameo.
that. Yeah.
Oh, play on words.
I like that.
I do too. Absolutely. So, how do we get tickets?
At the door. You can walk right up to the door, or if you know
Okay.
Kiwanian, actually most Kiwanians give the tickets away because we are required to buy them. So normally we just pay for them and give them out. So because we want bodies in the seat, we want people there.
Great.
Better to have a bad show in front of a packed house than an empty
Yes.
house, whatever. So
Yeah.
not a bad show.
Good cause.
Yeah, it is. It's for our youth scholarships. All that money goes directly to our scholarships.
And you
And
give
there
out
was
quite a bit of money every
And
year.
we've given out pushing $1 million at this point over the last 20 years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
20 that I think last year was the lowest we've ever given out. I want to say it was only $20,000 scholarships.
Oh, with the pandemic.
But normally it's 22, 24.
And even
26,
20,000 during the
yeah.
pandemic and COVID and everything is still.
We had to dig
phenomenal.
into our foundation budget
Money.
and to maintain that because Capers didn't really happen last year.
And that's your largest fundraiser,
That's our
right?
biggest fundraiser, and the Classic, Kingston Classic. Those two were canceled, so those were our two biggest fundraisers. Other than that, we only have some very, very minor.
Right.
I think we sell candy and roses, I don't know, some other things.
But those are your major
Capers
ones.
and Classic are our two big pushers.
All right, so everybody mark your calendars.
That's right. King Lawrence Capers, come
Yeah.
see me. There's some good songs. I know Ann Papillion and Terry Dwyer have a song together.
Oh, that's great.
The Coach House veterans.
Yes, they are.
They have talent.
They do have talent.
Unlike most of the rest of us in the club.
They do. Who has the lead
I
part? Who's
think
playing
Dan
Fredo?
Chittister, Pete Perry's got a part. I think Pete might have a song, I think.
Oh,
Dan
okay.
Chittister is Fredo.
Oh, Dan is, okay.
I'm trying to picture the cast list. Of course, the outgoing presidents, Genevieve Buckman and Mike Jankowski, the incoming presidents, they have parts. I know the mayor has a cameo at the end.
Okay.
I'm not sure about Chief Tinty May. Usually we try to get both
Police
of them
chief,
in there.
yeah.
And the mayor confirmed last week was the 100th anniversary gala celebration of the Kingston Kiwanis Club. And we also celebrate in conjunction with the Poughkeepsie Club, who's actually a month or two older than us, darn it. But
Yeah.
both
Hey,
two clubs,
100
two
years old.
strong clubs and strong communities. Had a great turnout. Sue Serino was there and presented us with a nice proclamation.
fantastic.
And someone from the county gave us a county proclamation, and Mayor Noble was there, read his city proclamation.
Oh, that was really
And,
nice.
Someone from Rob Rollison's office gave a credit thing to Poughkeepsie, so it was
Poughkeepsie.
really nice. But at the thing, that's a long story short, the mayor confirmed that he was going to do capers. So.
Oh, good. That's great.
Right from the horse's mouth.
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard it from
Yeah,
him.
because that's a commitment of 3 nights. Thursday,
Yeah,
Friday, Saturday.
Thursday night, isn't that Thursday Common Council night? And, whatever. So I'm sure there's,
What are the
got
exact
family.
dates again, just for the listeners,
I
because I forgot.
22, 23, 24.
Okay.
Third.
22, 23,
Yeah.
24.
I think it's 21st, 22nd,
yeah.
and 23rd. Cause
Thursday, Friday, 21,
Yeah,
22,
23,
23.
yes.
Thursday, Friday,
Okay,
Saturday.
folks, there you go.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
22,
okay.
23.
I figured if I forgot, maybe the listeners did
Yeah,
too.
right. But it's Thursday, third week in October. Jesus.
Yeah, always the same weekend.
Yep.
Always, yeah, which is great. I had the opportunity one year to do it when Mike Hine was the county exec and Paul Van Blarkham was the sheriff and Elliot was the county comptroller, and the 4 of us had a cameo part
did you?
as
I think I
Dan
remember
said
that.
at the end of the show. So, and it was a lot of fun. I had to say, I really enjoyed it. A lot of
It's a
fun.
long week, a lot of work.
It is a
every
long
night,
week, it is.
rehearsals, you're working all day, and you have rehearsals for several hours at night.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's for a good cause, and the camaraderie is the best part of it, I think.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So 100 years. Congratulations
Yeah,
to
very
Kiwanis,
nice.
Kingston, and Poughkeepsie. That was great. And was the event held here in Ulster County or in Dutchess?
It was at the Best Western, and for lack of a better word, the Holodome. We had cocktail hours out there, and then in the gallery, the main banquet hall space.
Yeah, and they've done that over.
I'd been to the gallery space for a dinner or two over the last year since it became the venue, but I hadn't been in the old Holodome part, whatever you want to call it.
They've done a nice job,
very
right?
Nice.
Yes.
Couldn't even smell the pool. I mean, I remember you used to walk in the front
that
door
chlorine used to
by
hit
the
you.
lobby and you'd smell the pool, the bromine. But now even in that room you can't. So obviously they
corrected that problem.
Have proper HVAC stuff.
System, yes. Yeah, so that was great.
And then actually it's funny, not funny, but in the same conversation that the mayor confirmed that he was going to be
in Kiwanis?
In the Capers, he said I didn't know this. His family home caught on fire, and they lived in the Holodome for like 8 weeks while damage was repaired.
Yeah. I did not know that, but I know the family home had caught on fire at one point. But yeah,
and he's like, he's like, we swam every day. It was like the best.
This was like a
the best 8
vacation.
weeks of my childhood. It was like what a break. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's great.
So how about those New York sports teams, huh?
Cameron, what happened?
All 3 football teams are good. The Yankees, all right.
Yeah, we have to all root for the Yankees tonight. Everybody out there listening.
In hostile territory in Boston.
Yeah. So. One game, that's it.
Yeah,
so
win and you're in. So
yes.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, right down to the wire. And the Jets and Giants, I read something where they said, like, this is the first time in NFL history that they both won their first game. I don't
overtime.
know. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
yes.
in overtime, which is like, wow. Football, one overtime is kind of rare in football.
It is.
Maybe you get one game a week in overtimes, but for Jets and the Giants, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they both played at 1. Usually one's at 1 and one's at 4. But, yeah, so I was happy to see.
Definitely.
The Buffalo Bills, right. We forget about Buffalo, but the Bills won, too.
Bills they're
very good.
They're a good team.
And Tom Brady beat his New England Patriots.
I wanted him to get upset so bad. But I did watch the game. Mac Jones for New England looks pretty good. Yeah. And our Daniel Jones looked pretty good. He looked like a good quarterback. 400 yards.
Yes.
That one interception was lame because his time was expired as a Hail Mary into the goal in the end zone.
Yeah.
That should only be like a half of interception.
Right.
It wasn't like it was a game.
Right.
It was a game situation, but it was But Jones Super Bowl would be
Be interesting.
Pats and Giants have played in 4 Super Bowls together? 3? I know we beat them twice. I think
Yeah, maybe 3.
Two, at least 2. So either how, so it's not unlikely. So.
Yep. No. So it was a good weekend for New York sports fans. That's for sure. Absolutely. And and so I'm trying to think this week at the county office building. Things have been quiet. Which is
which is does that mean next week's gonna be extra busy?
I don't know. It usually the beginning of the month is usually very busy, but maybe too it was a rainy Monday to start the week, so it was quiet at the county office building. But it will. That's for sure. And of course, with our DMV, I know. People are questioning again about the appointments. Please make an appointment. You can make same-day appointments, Cameron. So, but it's convenient. If you make an appointment for 3 o'clock today, you will be out by 3:15 at the latest. Yep. So I know going online might be a little difficult for people. Call the office. We'll make the appointment for you. So, and it's worked really well. Yeah. And today we're up in Saugerties at the town hall. Our motor vehicle bus, Tuesdays.
All right.
10 to 3:30, 1 to 2 for lunch.
Drive down to 9W in the rain.
That's right.
Stay in town. Where's it tomorrow?
Tomorrow's down in Ellenville. Ellenville's very busy for us down in Ellenville.
And do you know the rest of the schedule?
Yep. Thursdays we're in Newport, and Fridays we're down in Walk Hill. Oh, this is the first Friday of the month, so we're up in Shandaken.
Have you ever been to Italy?
Yeah, once. Yeah.
I might go in March. I have an opportunity.
Oh.
Cool story. One of my best buddies from college, fraternity brother, Ron Koff, fellow printer, that's why we both went to RIT. Lives down in Katona. He has a house in Vermont. A house on Westbrook, Connecticut, right on the shore. My man does very well for himself. So he's been buddies through Vermont. Through skiing, knows this guy. our age whose father passed away like a year ago, older guy. And his son sort of, aside from his job, sort of took over this father's family business, and he runs ski tours. So in March, so my buddy Ron, he's the funnest, greatest, gregarious guy. He can make any room smile. He's a born salesman. That's why he sells.
That's so well, yeah.
Born salesman. Sell ice to, the Iceman. I was going to say something politically incorrect. But so he got Ron on, and Ron's a tremendous skier. He's like the Vermont men's senior amateur skate champion a couple years ago. To be like the concierge, the tour guide, if you will, to his European trips. So the first one he's going to is in Bormio, Italy, which is up in the Alps, 2.5 hours north of Milan. It's, the price is right, can't beat it.
That's fantastic.
And going with him, and it's I'm like 99.99.
Oh, that's so exciting.
No, I am going. 100% going.
You're 100%
I'm 100%
sure.
going.
There you go.
So I've been to the Alps skiing. I've been to Austria skiing, but Italian Alps. Start JFK to Milan. It's like $2,500. Double occupancy. I'm going to stay with him. You go fly into Milan. Halfway up, from Milan you go up into the Alps. You stop at some vineyard. There's a wine tasting 5-course lunch. We're staying at this little inn right in Bormio. Bormio's like a 500-year-old village. It's cool as hell. I've been on the website,
Yeah, right.
A little hotel that's right near, the ski place. European-style hotel. It's only like 30-room building. 30-room hotel. Breakfast, quote-unquote American-style breakfast, and 4-course, gourmet dinner every night. Spa, everything. I am so excited.
Oh, my God. And when is that, in March?
It's March, end of March.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And being a skier that you are,
yeah.
I mean, what a wonderful opportunity.
It's his opportunity. My buddy Ron, he's my man, and he's like, dude, you got to come, once-in-a-lifetime trip. You got to go.
That's great.
So, yeah, I'm totally psyched.
Yeah, good for you. Oh, yeah, that'll be exciting.
So I'm saving up money. I'm eating ramen noodles from Natalie Lane. Saving up.
No exotic
That's
recipes.
Right. No more lobster till that trip is paid for. Yeah. But I'm excited. But I got time to save money and
sure.
Right. And
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
so
great.
Italy. So I'm excited about Italy, which segues into the Italian Fest coming up this weekend.
That's right.
The weather's supposed to break. Thank
I hope
goodness.
so.
Yeah, it looks
so.
like Saturday, Sunday. It says like sunny and 77 or something like that.
Yeah, which we're really excited for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, after a year of last year they did a great job out in Tech City, and it was a mini festival, and it was a lot of fun. And everybody stayed in their cars, and it worked out well. Yeah. But this year it's nice to get back on the Strand, and,
I know, I'm
and
disappointed.
we have like 34 different vendors, and the entertainment lineup is amazing. I know that Tony's had somebody on the air speaking about it on Thursdays, but it's a fun day, Cameron. It's a fun day for family, kids. We have the children's booth with face painting and lots of arts and crafts and things going on, as well as the entertainment and the food.
Then,
the
for
food
kids,
is amazing.
I mean, walking down the waterfront, strolling around the Maritime Museum. It's
it is. It's a lot of fun. And of course, our beer and wine, and we have the Italian Peroni beer, as well as other ones.
Authentic.
Yes. And of course, your wines. It's a great day, and great for all the businesses down on the Strand too to support them.
Yeah.
So Sunday, October 11th.
10th.
Yep, the 10th.
October 10th. There we go. From 11th, opening ceremonies are 11:30, right through 7 at night. So yeah, please come, enjoy, have something to eat.
Absolutely, it's gonna be gorgeous.
Yeah, let the kids have some fun.
Now, I was just gonna say, is there? Do you know if there's parking? Like, is there shuttle buses or anything like that?
There is shuttle buses
from the Midtown.
From
Tony's lot?
Yes, and I believe also from the Plaza,
okay.
Little Italy, that parking lot, and then one down by Kingston Point Beach. I believe. Yeah. So there.
I haven't been down there since they started scratching the dirt for the soccer field.
I haven't either. I was down there a lot at the beginning of the summer, walking the rail trail and everything, but I haven't been down there since they started.
Yeah, I know parking improvements.
Construction on that.
The list. They're going to expand the parking lot and.
Yes. That parking lot is terrible when it rains.
Oh, yeah.
It just floods terribly. Yeah.
Well, I think
So,
that's part of it too. I think they're going to
build it up.
raising it or improving the drainage.
And the intersection of Grant Street there and Broadway is really
Yeah.
starting to take shape.
Yeah,
I
it
went
looks
past
okay.
there the other day. Yeah.
I like how there's like
Yeah.
more space there.
Yeah. A little more green space too, which is
Yeah,
nice.
that's what I meant. Like, you
Yes.
know, oh yeah, open area.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep.
So that looks like it should be done before the snow
And
falls.
Broadway, I've heard I'm still not sold on Broadway yet, but the rhetoric and criticism has started to die down a little bit.
Yes, and people,
A week ago, everybody going crazy.
it is a little difficult to get used to. I had to be honest with you. It is, the configuration is not something that we've seen in the past here in the city of Kingston. So you do need some time to really navigate it and to become accustomed to it.
But I
So
think
we'll
you drive
see.
it a couple times. Broadway is always terrible. So
Broadway's always been
it's never been a pleasure to drive down Broadway ever. So, I mean, you used to have 50 stoplights.
Yes.
Now there's a couple less, but other than that, all right, we got to go to break.
We do.
Thank you, Nina Postupack and Cameron Rylance. Thank you for bringing us up to the 7:30 break, and you are with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. My name is Dan Gatis, and it is Tuesday, October 5th, 55 degrees here in Uptown Kingston, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Thanks for starting your day with Kingston Community Radio on 920 WGHQ AM Kingston and 92.5 W223 CR FM Kingston, New York. Magic 92.5.
Introducing the YMCA. What, you already know the why? Or so you think. Sure, you know the why for a swim, a workout, even a game of hoops. But did you know we're more than that? We're a cause. When you take your jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Take a cardio class, while kids are in an after-school enrichment program. Practice your downward-facing dog as a teen practices her leadership skills. That's the why. We work with people no matter their age, income, or background and give them the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive, all with one simple goal in mind, to strengthen our community. And we've got so much more that does just that. So while you might think of the Y as that place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. Introducing the Y. We're so much more than a place. We're a cause. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Diane Eastwick from Athens, New York, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And we're back, and thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. 1099 Morton Boulevard in Kingston is their main office. And a little bit about the weather before we kick off the 7:30 segment. Cloudy with a slight chance of a rain shower today, like now. And cloudy with a slight chance of a rain shower tonight, too. We're not going to have much more temperature than about 63 degrees today. Goes down to 56 tonight. Wednesday, cloudy skies with a slight chance of a rain shower again, 69 high. And considerable cloudiness Wednesday night with a low of 56. Thursday, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 73. And also Thursday night, a few clouds, a low of 56. And we'll see how the weekend goes. Okay, let's get back to the on-air studio with everybody.
Us.
With us.
We are Nina and Cam, and we are joined in the studio joined by Heidi Kirschner.
Good morning.
Welcome, Heidi.
Director of our YMCA.
Yes, happy Tuesday morning.
Yeah, early, gloomy October Tuesday
Yeah,
morning.
it's off to a little wet start now, isn't it? But the weekend was beautiful.
Oh, it was.
And this weekend is beautiful. I heard you talking about the Italian Fest this weekend,
Yeah,
which should be
Sunday,
so
yeah.
much fun. And then don't forget, Positive.
Yeah, so positives this weekend.
So, I mean, we're just so lucky to have two great festivals in the city of Kingston. so nice. It starts with a parade, and then it's just lots of music. There's no charge this year, so
back to back with this past weekend.
Yeah.
That stockade thing was a smash.
Oh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was jumping.
Yeah, so it's just really nice to see
Yes.
in our little hamlet here that there's activity and, things to do, things for everyone to do, things for especially the younger folks to do, keep them interested. So it should be great.
Which segues nicely into what's going on at the Y. What's to do at the Y?
They have a lot of stuff going on. You're right in the midst of planning. I mean, you're carrying out your fall stuff, but everyone's planning for next year, and it's just so we're doing some nice stuff. But I mean, we've got our adult volleyball going on, just starting out now. We have ladies basketball, which is really, I love watching the ladies basketball. We have youth basketball also going on. Of course, swim. The pool is great. We have a lot of pool activity. Looking to add more to it this coming year.
Your swim team, is that going to start up this?
Oh, no, it's already started.
Oh, it's already. Okay, wow.
And we're jam-packed.
Awesome,
Yeah,
fantastic.
we're jam-packed. So,
Tiger Sharks, right?
no, we are the Hurricanes.
Hurricanes.
Yeah.
There you go.
We are the Hurricanes.
Are you competing already? Are they competing?
We haven't started yet because the swim team just started in the middle of September. So everyone's
so
getting
all workouts
acclimated. What levels are you at? Cool. Doing your, some timing and stuff. But we will be having probably a meet within a couple of weeks.
These will be live again. Last year, everything was like virtual or timed or whatever.
Well, there was a combination. As the season got going on, we were able to host some meets with very strict parameters with,
your side is our side.
Well, actually, and they had to be
spectating.
separated, and they wore face masks over. As soon as they got out of the pool, swimmers were given those clear plastic face masks to put on, and
winded, I'm sure.
and even when they were doing their practices, the coaches, all wore the face masks, et cetera. And when they were at the end of the pool, when he was talking to them, they all put on those little plastic things. So we, keeping it as safe as possible. We had to limit the numbers, which was a challenge, but it worked out. And knock on wood, we had, no incidents of COVID and COVID spread.
That's great.
So,
fantastic. Yeah.
So we felt, that was okay. So
yeah.
we're quite excited.
Awesome.
It's been, really, really crazy times, but it's offered us an opportunity to, reevaluate what we do, look at ourselves, change some things up, and, go forward. So we're kind of excited. There's so much things that we want to do, and the hard part is just, you don't have limitless capacity, so you have to be selective of what you want to work on, and try that to get that up and running, and have it, kind of be in a way that you just have to, carry it out. You got the template, you just got to do it every year, and then
If somebody wants to participate, first of all, what age group is the Hurricanes? What age group?
Typically, we've had 5-year-olds, but typically, usually the youngest is 6, and it goes right up to seniors in high school.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then if somebody
under,
wants to compete or be part of the team, how do they go about doing that?
So
Heidi?
once you're part of the team, you have choices. And the nice thing about our team is it's both a USA swim team and a YMCA swim team. So you get to dance and compete in both arenas. The YMCA, it's kind of funny because the YMCA at a lower level is more nurturing than the US swimming. So the YMCA allows you to have dual meets, which means it's just 2 teams, which is when you're just getting exposed to swim competition, it's a very gentle way and nice way for the kids to get used to competing. Because when you go to that first competition and you've got like 15 or 20 teams on deck, it can be like, and so that's a nice way to break into it. And then you can move on to like U.S. Swim meets that can have anywhere from 3 to 30 teams, and so that's typically where we go. But then there's also other swim, based on how well the swimmer does, there's regional meets and zones. But then that's as far as, for the most part, U.S. swimming takes you. But the Y, depending on, you can go to states, and if you do well at states, you can go to nationals. And so it's kind of like, it's bookends. Like the Y has the really big picture and the very, and then U.S. swimming is in between. So it's nice to be able to have access to both.
Sure, yeah.
And you learn from both. You get to meet a lot more people. It's great that we've have met coaches from other teams. You learn from the other teams. It's nice to see the successes of, swimmers from other teams, and you can sit there and you follow them, and, and then you see how maybe you have a swimmer, and then all of a sudden this year they bloomed, and that happens with swimming. You kind of go in spurts, you might just be going along, and then all of a sudden something clicks, and you're just like, boom, you take off. So, but it's fun, and it's nice. It's nice friendships for the kids. We try to instill values of leadership for the older kids. You're not just there to swim. You're there to also look after the younger kids and make sure that they're enjoying themselves, that they're, they don't have any issues going on. You can kind of check in on them. We also introduce an element of dry land training, because so often injuries occur when you're just working certain muscle groups over and over and over and over again. And so at least once a week, and it may be twice, we have a personal trainer come in, and they do working out different aspects, so they'll go in.
Non-swimming muscles.
Yeah. And they'll go in, and, it's different working your cardio in a gym like a basketball player would work out, the same kind of things that they would do, or a football player. And it's different working those muscles. And we actually, when we implemented this program like a couple of years ago, the results for the team in general were a lot better. And we just, the kids, they do look forward to the dry land days. They're there. They have to come in a little earlier, because we want to also, afterwards, we get them in the pool for a little bit. But it's a nice experience. They really work hard.
And are there tryouts, or do you, if you join, you're part of the team?
They have to be able to meet the requirements of being on the swim team. So, if you can't swim, several lengths of the pool, right, then that's the minimum requirement to being on a swim team. But beyond that, we
well, that's great.
We're inclusive.
Fantastic.
And
great opportunity.
Some people can make it, some people, and we also, help families that maybe can't afford it. We are the best swim team cost in the area. We know that. We do our homework, and because we want to be inclusive. But you have to have coaches there. Yes. You have to have lifeguards there. There's certain costs. So, it's just a lot of people don't recognize how expensive a swim team is. But we are really the least expensive swim team in the area, and
what is
intentionally.
The cost, Heidi?
It's about $600 a year.
Yep.
Most other local swim teams are double that at least.
Well, that's fantastic.
But you think about the kids that were swimming 5 to 6 days a week, and that means you have coaches 5 to 6 days a week, and it's not just for the practice time is a couple hours. So
and lifeguards and to maintain the pool.
Yeah.
There's so many.
There's a lot to it, but it's worth it. And it's a great model for other youth activities that we do at the Y. It doesn't just mean that it applies to pool.
Well, off the air, you had talking about some ideas you had about drowning prevention or eliminating drowning.
Yeah, so this has been kicking around for a while. I intentionally went and got my WSI certification earlier this year, because after this last...
Light at every pool.
That wasn't the intent.
As we had time for it, but literally every pool in the county will want to hire you.
That wasn't the intent, but after this last season, and there was, several more drownings, I was like, and the year before, when just a beloved young man was lost, I said, we have to stop this. And my goal, and perhaps it's lofty, but the goal for our YMCA is to eradicate drowning in Ulster County. And we're going to start being more aggressive about it and making sure that we get out there. We'll be probably knocking on every service organization to say, when can we come talk to you? How can we spread the word? How can you be a part of eradicating drowning? We'll be going to the schools. We'll be going, probably talking to churches. We may be going to, housing communities throughout the city of Kingston and the county, and, just going through basic water safety and talking with people, just making people smart, because typically when there is drowning, most of the time, you're not alone. There's somebody else with you. And so if you can educate, especially the youth, because it's the second highest cause of death with kids 14 and under,
Really?
other than car accidents. And then, so if you can educate and get kids on board, you can do away with drowning, and you just have to be diligent with it. I know this summer we had the good fortune of running a program in the Roundout School District, and we took a day and did curriculum during each session, because they were different groups of kids. We took one day and did water safety and talked about it. The kids liked it. Parents were thrilled. And then we also took a day and talked about bike safety, pedestrian safety, with the kids as well. Kids liked it. Parents were thrilled. And so we kind of said we want to reach out and do this more. We're going to need a slew of volunteers, to help get out and talk to people, but we're okay with that. We've had a lot of people who've approached us. There will be some funding that's necessary, but we'll find it. But if we can, prevent another young person from dying because of drowning, or allow, parents to recognize that you can drown in 3 inches of water, then we're doing what we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And
I think between outreach, you said it can take a lot of coordination, but service clubs,
and churches,
even just for sponsorship idea. I'm thinking the Elks Lodge. We could have a seminar,
right?
And certainly Kiwanis, both those organizations are youth.
Rotary, and they all are Lions, and so I just think
even
it's
as a funding outlet, minimally, but that's
so
sad. Yeah, 4 people drowned this summer in Kingston, or in Ulster County, rather. That's
it's too many.
Yeah, and at least one of them was a child.
I know.
That's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it's sad, and I was like, well, we don't have to. We can change these statistics, and we want to. And you sit there and say, the Y has the tools, the Y has the capacity and the knowledge. We have to bring the groups together and start, deploying groups of people to make this happen. And for us, it's a joy because we're doing good. We're, carrying out our mission.
But it's very difficult. The same thing, being realistic, you just can't start piling out. You need bandwidth, as my office likes to say.
Yeah.
You can't just start taking on this. It's going to have to grow organically, and with on your part, a very dedicated commitment to continue to push. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But we can do it, and we know we can do it. We've got the framework of plans in place, and and I'm sure you have the city behind you, you have the county behind you, all these other organizations, and it's just a matter of putting it together. And I know it's not going to happen all at once, but you can pick targeted areas where the statistics are worse than other areas, and work on those areas first.
Yeah.
You bring up the bicycle and pedestrian safety, and we were just talking about this on the radio. We've talked about it in the past that now there's so many pedestrians that are walking, so many people on bicycles, and so many people not aware of the rules of the road. And even myself, when you're driving uptown and somebody's in the crosswalk, be aware that they have the right of way to cross the street. Be careful when you're making that left-hand turn and there's a bicycle lane. So I think
all
that's
these
so
different
important.
things to teach about. And I mean, drivers need to be aware. Pedestrians need to also know what they have to do. I mean, you can't go wandering out in the middle of the road
with
and
your
sit there.
earbuds, reading your iPad, not looking either way, just stepping into the crosswalk.
I mean, when you drive down the road and you see stuff and you're like, oh, that's not good, somebody's going to get hurt, and you find yourself saying that several times a day, then you're like, okay, I guess some things need to be done. So it's at all levels. I mean, you have to have it from the media aspect. You have to have it from all levels, and then you have to have that face-to-face interface where you're actually there, feet on the ground, showing what all this media is saying, and so people take it in firsthand and say, "Oh, I get it," and then they help each other.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of not finding someone who's doing something wrong. It's a matter of keeping them safe.
Right.
And that's the message. We're not here to find fault. We're here to keep you safe.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
Learning. Knowledge is power. Safety. Yeah.
It's just because it's brutal. If something ever happened, and it doesn't matter, if you were the vehicle that accidentally hit someone and you were not in the wrong, it's going to stick with you.
It still will.
Oh gosh,
Absolutely.
I could not imagine that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And even if you were to see it, it's still going to stick with you.
And conversely, being with someone on the water and witnessing a horrible accident on the water,
The friends who saw the drownings of Chris Bamba will never forget that.
PTSD to a degree, absolutely.
And so, so it's something we have to work on. But it's all doable if you bring people together, and we've had ample people identify that they want to help, and now it's a matter of just organizing and doing that work.
Directing the energy.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the fall school back to school is?
Back to school is started. It's still that weird, unusual, not the same thing going back. Because the schools are dealing with an awful lot of stuff still, and so they're spinning, and so we're just trying to work with them as best as possible, which is crazy because you're kind of pulling people here, pulling people there. And as you can imagine, the workforce is not stable yet.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of effort going into that. But it's going.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Yes,
your
absolutely.
Farm,
The
The farm. So we had a wonderful harvest fest a couple of weeks ago back in our farm. The new playground that's up is a wonderful addition. We were playing host to a woman who has horses, and she brings them to our backfield several times a week, so kids can visit. She'll run program. She was there over the summer for our camp, so kids, as part of the Starfish Camp and Asopus Camp, had a horse program.
Wow.
And
horses, ponies?
Horses, yep, and ponies. So it was great. It was nice because last week they had the equinox blessing. I don't know what but they blessed the horses and the land that the horses were on. They had a Native American come in and do the blessing, and it was sweet. It was sweet.
Yes.
It was in the evening, so it was a nice ceremony, and it certainly is nice to have them there. Quite frankly, you look out where the farm and the playground, and you see horses.
The horses,
cool.
yeah.
You do not think that you're in the city of Kingston.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
That's neat.
So, so that was a nice addition, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to have her come back next year. And again, of course, all it takes is funding, but we're looking because we felt it was a nice addition. It's nice for the kids to be able to come and just watch, just sitting there and watching the horses, is kind of fun.
Nothing cooler than feeding a horse a carrot, big giant.
Yeah.
It's neat.
I have a question, Heidi. Any updates on programs and activities and those kinds of events and things like that for seniors?
For seniors, so you bring up a good, obviously we have a lot of our pool activities. We have 2 or 3 different pool activities. We also have a sit and get fit.
Oh, I like that one. Sit and get fit.
Don't let it.
You're not watching football?
Do not let that fool you. So I said, I'm going to go take that because I like to experience my classes, and I was like, it wasn't easy, because, you're sitting, but you're doing kind of like weight stuff, and they've been doing it virtually still because of the variant, but there's that. Pickleball is another active senior, and we want to kind of introduce it to more seniors because it's really a nice activity. We have 4 courts at the Y. We have 3 in our main gym and 1 in our lower gym. When this whole variant gets stepped aside, I kind of want to have like a little pickleball tournament to kind of elevate the interest and the competition a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll make it some fun. I'll come up with some wacky kind of competition name or something.
Is there a league? A pickleball league?
We do have a league.
Okay, so you have a weekly...
Yeah, that hasn't been kicked in because of the variant, and a lot of the folks don't want to come back inside yet. So, so there's a lot... It's not normal yet. We're probably still at maybe 60% of where we were, because of people not wanting to come back in.
Now, is that attendance or is that
memberships?
So memberships, in fact, are down as well.
Yeah. So it makes it really difficult. However, again, it's like there's so much more that we can do, and it's kind of like the timing for different activities. We also have Tai Chi and yoga which is really, I tell you, I think yoga is the fountain of youth, because to be able to be flexible and strong and have balance, you won't fall. Or if you do, you won't really hurt yourself. And so that's one thing, if I can encourage anyone, and there's no bad way of doing yoga with a good instructor. They'll kind of talk you through. And it really is quite nice. I didn't do it as much this year as I had done it the prior year when we're doing it outside. But wow, it's really good, and it really does make you strong, and it is a workout.
It is a workout. It is.
I've been thinking about this for years, but you should try a pilot program, beginning yoga for middle-aged chubby people. Serious, because I don't want to go to some yoga class with these flexible 26-year-old
That's
people, and you know what I mean?
You haven't been to the Y, but I'd like to. I'd like to add one more, because it's funny, because my husband said the same thing. Middle-aged, chubby men.
Yeah, well, I'm not being wild. I'm like, I would consider
You would love to do it, but in the right
factor of looking like a fool,
The funny part about yoga, and I don't know people.
Listeners say that's a good idea.
That's one of the things with yoga, and I know I'm working hard when I do it, is because when I'm done with yoga, I'm hungry.
That's very true. You're right.
That's the only only thing I do when I'm done. I'm hungry, and I'm like,
you have a workout.
I must be working the right things,
Well.
So, but yeah, and there's more things that can be done with seniors, and that we look at, even just some basic walking. And we still have a group that's been together, oh my gosh, for over 20 years. Hank, who runs it, he's 90-something. Wow. And, they get together, they do barbells, they walk out and about around the Y property and down, I think, by the cemetery, and they come back and do some calisthenics. So they've been running a program for, maybe he started when he was 65 or 70 or something like that.
That's a long time.
So it's nice, but they're really a fun group. Yeah, they're hilarious when you listen to them and see what they're doing. But it's really nice to see that they have that group, and they check on each other. When somebody doesn't show up, they're
friends.
like,
they're not just workout; they're a group of friends. So that's wonderful.
I think the youngest might be a 55-year-old female who's just joined the group. They let her in.
Let her in.
Dan says we have a minute left, so
Okay.
if you have any updates or anything you need to get out there quick.
So just we're having a mural put on our wall for
the
O
O
positive.
positive. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So come just drive down the ramp and look to the right, and they're kind of
How
doing
big of a mural?
Yeah, it's not too big. It is. It's the side. It's a wall, and so it will be great. But it's got a theme of like our farm and growing. So as you do that, and then you look the other direction, you'll see the farm. So it's on a wall that really could use some sprucing up,
Right,
you know. And so we're really happy with it. It's outside a little playground
You see
area.
the design?
I have, yeah.
good.
And I'm just, amazed at the level of artists that there are that come to town. We are so lucky. They're world-renowned artists, and we have them
Yeah,
for a short period of time. And kudos to O Positive.
Yes, definitely. Give just your phone number, contact information.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. If you want to call the Y, call us, talk to us, 845-338-3810. Our website is YMCAUlster.org. And come look at our facility. You can make a reservation for a tour. We'd be glad to walk you around. If I'm available, I'd be more than happy to walk you around. I'll give you the nickel tour, 50-cent tour. Get it, 50 cent.
All right. Well, Heidi, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Yes, thanks,
All right.
Heidi.
Thank you for your good work, and keep it up.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Dan.
Okay, thank you. Nina Postupack, Cameron Rylance, and a very, very special thanks to Heidi Kirschner, Director of the Ulster County YMCA. You're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, 7 to 9 a.m. every weekday. And right now it's 8 o'clock a.m. This Tuesday, October 5th, 55 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, 1099 Morton Boulevard in Kingston. It's their main office. We'll be right back after these messages.
Thanks for starting your day with Kingston Community Radio on 920 WGHQ AM Kingston and 92.5 W223CR FM Kingston, New York. Magic 92.5.
Hey there.
What's up, bruh?
Hello.
Aloha.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hola.
Hi.
It takes a lot of voices to create the sound of us. The Y welcomes all of them with open arms. From career readiness to safe spaces, the Y is there, no matter who we are. Now, more than ever, they need your support. Donate to your local Y today. The Y, for a better us.
Read by members of the Y.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Scott Harrington from Hurley, and I support Kingston Community Radio because the people need a place to have their voice heard, and it's lost in corporate radio, so please keep listening and supporting our station.
And thank you for listening and supporting our station, WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, the home of Kingston Community Radio, 7 to 9 a.m. every weekday. And today is a terrific Tuesday, October 5th, 55 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. And this morning program is brought to you by Robert Baum Commercial Realty, located at 79 St. James Street, Kingston, New York. Visit rgbaum.com for more information. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Nina Postupack, Cameron Rylance, and Bill Merchant.
But we got to put Bill on hold for 1 minute because we have a birthday. Today being October 5th for the Boyce Brother Dairy Milk House cow pie giveaway. We want to wish Ann Rossini a very happy birthday for the Wellness and Healthy Lifestyle Club. So
happy birthday, Ann.
Happy birthday.
Ann, happy birthday.
That's one sick-sounding cow.
Go,
I try,
folks.
I forget. It's been a while since I've heard a cow. So
there you go, in person. Go see the fine folks at Boyce Brothers Dairy Milk House and claim your free cow pie, and thank them for their support of Kingston Community Radio.
Yes, and I have to wish a very, very happy birthday to my brother Tony, whose birthday is tomorrow, October 6th, and to my sister-in-law Betsy, whose birthday is tomorrow, October 6th.
Oh, wow. Are they married?
Both, no.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Yeah. That would have been really
cool.
remarkable, right? I don't know. Do you know any couples that share the same birthday?
No, I don't think
I don't
so.
either.
I do, actually.
Oh, you do,
really?
Bill? Okay. All right.
I know a guy who
friends of mine
born
that-
and died on the same day.
Oh, yeah.
The late Chris Burns, my
Yes,
buddy Chris,
that's right.
born and died on the same day.
Yeah.
That's because he didn't want to pay for the extra letters on his.
On the gravestone, right?
So, Bill, good morning.
Yes.
How are
Good
you?
morning.
Welcome,
I'm
Bill.
good.
Welcome back. History's alive and well.
You know, it was interesting listening to your previous guest and talking about drownings because in one season, I forget what year, 50 children, 50 of the mule drivers died.
On the canal.
At that point in time, on the canal.
Falling in, injuries? What the
They,
heck? What?
the report was unclear. It simply had the stat, and I think it said it was a full 1 in 30 of, they had at that point in time, there were some over 1,000 boats, so there were at least 1,000 children who were, and it said boys, but we know for a fact history ignores women more than anybody else. And so I can say definitively there were hundreds of girls. I've got the names of 2, and one of them, all I have is her married name. So you could argue I don't have her name either. But that just points up to how history continues to ignore women.
These are the mule drivers that were
correct.
The
hoagies.
mules? Hoagies. Is that a mule skinner or same thing or no?
No, I think a mule skinner. I've never heard that phrase used.
I think that was the West.
What is a
Yeah,
West, like
a
wagon
mule skinner.
trains.
Yeah,
What is a mule
that sounds.
skinner?
As a vegetarian
that
and
was
animal
like
lover, I don't like the sounds of that.
Yeah, no, I don't think they were actually taking their fur off. But I believe it was like the kids who drove the mules that pulled the wagons for the
Okay.
stagecoach, or the overland prairie, or the settlers.
In this day and age, we really don't have to.
Guess
what
at
is a mule?
anything,
Don't have
right?
to
We could
guess.
just Google.
But I mean, life was cheap back then. I'm sure.
Well, there you
There
go.
was,
You are correct. A mule skinner is a professional mule driver whose sole purpose was to keep the mules moving. The term skinner is slang for someone who might skin or outsmart a mule. There's a great quote in a court testimony where one canaler says some of the mules were smarter than the boys. We've all been there. Parents, we've all been there,
If
right?
you ever coached a team before, a youth team, you know that.
It's very true.
And relating to the fact that mules were renowned for being incredibly stubborn.
Yeah,
So
well.
if you could skin a mule, you were like, you were something.
You outsmarted him, yeah.
And the mule, George Washington popularized the mule in America. When he was president, the president of Spain gave him breeding stock where they were developing mules. And then the mule goes, so he brings them on, uses them at his...
Army mule, I mean, they still use mules into World War II.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like cavalry, they did still have mounted cavalry units in.
Even in, yep. We were an equestrian culture for centuries.
Oh, yeah, the German was, World War I, they were all cow. It's crazy.
In 1870, I think it was, or somewhere in that, in the early years of the 1870s, the Canadian horse flu, maybe we've discussed this here before, comes down from Canada, so this becomes the Canadian disease, isn't it horrible? And just devastates all of America. Eventually, it comes in on the Erie Canal. Within a couple weeks, it's run the entire length of the canal. Now, if you rested your animals, they would recover fine, but if you worked them, it was fatal, apparently. They lost a whole season on the Erie, and the Erie being much longer, that was significant. I learned about it because it was at a talk at the Maritime Museum about a company that was in the business of supplying mules on the Erie Canal, and they had, thousands of mules that they owned. They go out of business. They go bankrupt.
Well.
But more than that, there was a fire in the financial district in Boston, devastating because they didn't have horse flesh to get the
fire wagons.
The depression of '73, I think it was a direct result of the fact that we were so dependent on
horsepower.
Despite the fact that we were in the era of really now railroads ascending over canals, we were still. Who pulled the boat? Horse flesh. How did you get stuff to the train station?
Yeah, I was just trying to say, all the farmers were still pulling horses were pulling plows and threshers and all that. So, Yes.
Yeah, it was massively important, and the mules were on the canals the preferred animal. They worked harder and longer on less speed, so they were cheaper, and the story is that they weren't prone to pulling up lame or going sick. They were tough. They just worked until they dropped. So if you had here you got a horse, and it's so during the flu, you've still got to feed the mule. You can't make money off it. Yeah. This is a $100 animal in the mid 1850s. This is when $100 is what a common worker would consider a good annual wage.
Right.
So
well, now it's like it's analogous to buying a $50,000 pickup truck.
Yeah.
If you're if you're working, you're a tradesperson, whatever.
Right.
It's a significant investment. You can't work without it.
Yeah,
and you have to have it too. Yeah. So.
When in the unfortunate events of mules falling in the canal and drowning, which also happened, people would get up. It would be like a GoFundMe today. Would get up.
Yeah, right.
There's always a modern corollary.
Devastate a family, right? I mean, if you're a canola family, and all of a sudden your horse is
you need $200.
Yeah.
So people would get up. Everybody pass the hat and try and get some money.
Because everybody knew.
It's great having that boat, but if you don't have anything to pull it,
get it out of my way. I can't. I got a mule. So, I mean, what would happen if it fell in the water, like en route? I mean, it would cause a log or a traffic jam.
Well, there's that as well.
Right? I mean,
you could also, by the way, be fined $10 for dumping animal carcasses in the canal.
Yeah, gross.
And half that money went to whoever snitched on you. I always think that.
Oh, that's interesting.
I had a lucrative career. I was a mule. I was a carcass snitch.
Well, it would foul. That you could be foul a huge stretch of.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they were that concerned about that because it was a pretty, sewage was going into it. It was not a clean place. I think it probably had more to do with when you've got a canal that's only 6 foot deep.
And then you have
the average carcass, all of a sudden, that's a choke point right there,
wedge,
people.
Yeah.
And also, of course, the famous story, and this is lore, I cannot find a primary source on it, but everybody likes to tell this story. If a mule team went in the water, you would rescue the mules before the child.
Oh, really? The mules were
more valuable. Yes. And a lot of orphans, poorhouses would actually get paid by the canalers to supply a child. So a lot of these children worked for no wages, just room and board, and this is documented. But I can't document, rescue the mule, but I could believe it. And then by the 1870s, we start to morph where, so they're paying you $1 a ton basically to move their coal. By 1878, I think it is, it's down to 60 cents. They still have more people wanting to work than they need. This is probably economic pressure from the railroads now. They're ascending. And at that point, I contend, is when we start getting family groups. So instead of so there's stories of people owning multiple boats and hiring cruisers, just a way to make money. Now the economics are such that you've got a family. So we'll see mom at the tiller, dad is the bowman, and the children. The most popular is a picture of the little Freddie. It's widely circulated. It's the Cameron family. And their children are George, Matty, 3 sons, and Freddie. So you can speculate that they named their boat after their son, maybe their firstborn. And the interesting thing on the D&H Canal, the company was selling you the boat. All the boats had 4-digit numbers. That's how they kept track of them. When you paid it off, if you were that fortunate, then you got to give it a name. So we always know with a name boat that was a canaler that managed to keep, they paid it off and kept it going.
Scots.
I suppose I haven't the genealogical aspect of this escapes me.
Is there a particular? I know it was built by. Is there a particular ethnicity that flocked towards barge ownership, or do you know what I mean?
Well,
Irish.
Irish. This is the D&H Canal. I've got my article on the.
So I know they dug it. But were they, then supplanted? I'm not to be derogatory, but Pakistanis are very heavy in the hotel business.
Yeah.
Bangladeshis and there's certain ethnic communities have flocked towards certain industries. Is that like that with the canal ownership or anything?
Absolutely. My article on the marginalized workers in the D&H Canal will be in this month's Hudson River Valley Review from Marist College. Immensely proud. My first peer-reviewed.
Wow, that's cool.
So I've been sort of deep into these stories. It was the Irish and Germans, and one source says Irish laborers and German stonemasons. I can't quite. He couldn't remember. Couldn't remember where he read it, but he's a good historian. And Alf Evers, in his book on Kingston, points out that the Germans seemed to go down to South America and to the Midwest, and that there would have been even more German, perhaps, on the D&H. But we know that the town of Rondout by about 1850 was literally half immigrants, all Germans and Irishmen.
Really? Huh.
The Irish, it's well established, would fight with anybody to make sure they got the work. Even other Irishmen, if they weren't from the same town. And I can't find any proof that people of color worked on the canal, and it's very possible the Irish, would work for less.
More
and-
desperate, more desperate than anybody else, right?
And another sad little thing, so we know that
I didn't realize it. Sorry, but I didn't realize
That's
the
all right.
German influence in Rondout was so big.
Oh, yeah,
I knew
yeah.
the Italian or the Irish. The Bumblebee Gang, and there's a book about the Irish gangs of downtown or whatever. But I never realized the German influence was so big.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of Germans. It was
Even like there's a Polish church.
Right.
There's a Lutheran. The Scandinavian Lutheran church. Well, I guess
there were separate German and Irish churches.
Emmanuel is
They all had
sort of German.
you know,
Lutheran.
Yes, that is.
Rondout's a real town of churches. I haven't counted how many churches were in
Yes, we
Rondout.
talked about that once on the air. I can't
St.
remember.
Coleman was all Italian.
Yes.
East Kingston.
The Italians coming into America later, the Italian immigration really starts in the 1880s and becomes prevalent around the turn of the 20th century, whereas there were a lot of Irish who think the famine certainly drove them. But
Right.
even prior to the famine.
It was economic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Before the famine, it was
Yep.
economic.
Yep. You came over here.
You were a
to-
poor
you-
farmer, or you
yep.
left?
So we know down south that enslavers would actually rent out their enslaved individuals to work on canals. But they also, when they had jobs or projects that had a high mortality rate, they would hire the Irish instead. Because
were
they
cheaper.
wouldn't lose. Yeah,
Sorry, they were cheaper,
when a person was worth $1,000 to $2,000 at like an even larger sum of money, you hire the Irish, they die. That's their lookout.
Plenty more coming over on the boat every day. There was an endless supply of ships landing in New York City at that time.
Yep, sure. Well, the D&H actually advertised for workers in the United Kingdom. As they started digging into the earth, they needed people who knew how to mine coal.
Yeah.
Carbondale, PA,
That's
to this
why I asked
day.
about the Scotsmen, because Scottish miners and
There were a lot of Scots, but a lot of Welsh. And so Carbondale has got a lot of descendants of the Welsh miners that came over. We know during the final enlargement of 1850, they were concerned about, I've got a great letter in our archives from the chief engineer. They're concerned about having enough workers. They're doing this in the off-season. They said, we'll have plenty of workers from Rondout to, say, Wurtsboro. And, from Honesdale out to about Pond Eddy on the Delaware River. But we need to advertise. So he's directing the treasurer in New York City to advertise for workers. So we need to advertise to fill in that gap, if you will. Let's get a mixture of Irish and German. They're better controlled that way. So even at that point in time.
Each other in check, right?
Yeah, it was a very crude and sort of unfortunate form of workforce discipline, I guess.
Machiavellian business tactics are always been.
Just offhand, they're better controlled that way,
Exactly.
Little quotes like that, like the one about some of the mules being smarter than the boys, things that stick with you.
Right. What's happening at the Maritime Museum these days? Are you still doing the boat tours?
I had my penultimate. I love that word. Any excuse to use it, confuse people because smart Alex. My penultimate trip was last Sunday, a lovely time, and so a week from Sunday I have my final voyage for the season. I'm hoping the leaves will be down. I'm really looking forward, because they weren't enough yet, to see what's really.
So not this coming Sunday, but the following
Sunday.
Okay, so that's a little late in the season, so that's nice that they're going that long, which is great.
I think they run through October. They're great. They have bird watching tours. They have sunset tours where you can bring libations, and
there you go.
Very popular. You can take the Solaris to the Rondout Lighthouse, get a tour of the lighthouse and back. That's probably a really popular one. I'll have to do that one myself somewhere here.
I'd love to see that. Can you go in it? Do you know?
Yes. No, you get a tour if you take a ride on the Solaris. Boy, they're gonna have to start paying me, right? If you take they are paying my,
but
percentage
of sales.
There you go.
You can take. Well, it's an amazing boat if you haven't been on it.
Yeah, I want it.
It's such a hoot to be, just putting along.
Silent.
Amazing.
Really, the future in a certain way. The Solaris is the first boat to have be certified by the Coast Guard for commercial use to give these tours.
Solar power boat. Wow.
And it was I think there was a prototype before it. It was built at the Maritime Museum, and the developer then sold it to the Maritime Museum in with a note that he's holding, and every whatever the period is when they make a mortgage payment, he goes and about 20-30% he donates back. And you can buy your own solar power boat. I think it'll cost you about $100,000.
Not bad.
But
boats are expensive.
Well, right? A hole in the water you throw money into.
Yeah,
as they say.
A boat that looked like the Solaris for $100,000, you could sell them all day.
Probably the Solaris it would be more expensive, and it actually was about 5 times that, I believe, the cost. But it was one of the first.
But
it was actually built
like out on lake. Like some rich
when,
guy cruising on Lake George.
You see all those pontoon boats and everything. Forget that. Get yourself a solar powered boat, people.
Exactly.
Let's get with it.
Classy looking.
Yeah.
And they built that right at the Maritime Museum.
Yes. In their wooden boat school. They have so many different activities there. It's really an impressive organization, and they hosted the Black History Conference on Saturday, which I was proud to be a presenter. The most nervous I've ever been. There were some great historians there. I'm afraid I was, I'm never usually that nervous, right? But I was this time. I don't think I'll ever be able to bring myself.
Panel discussions? Or
no, it was various presentations by any number of really excellent, authors, historians.
Themed
No, this was just about Black culture in general, Black history in the Hudson Valley.
Okay.
That was the
geographic.
I mean, the Hudson Valley is, Albany to Manhattan, So it's a wide geographic area. But there were some wonderful presentations, some 10 or 12 of them. Sarah Wasberg Johnson and Carla Lesh did a wonderful job for the Maritime Museum, organizing the whole thing. I'm sure that it was a long day for both of them. But it was really it was wonderful to be there.
A good turnout.
I think there was about 88 people total, both in person at SUNY Ulster, who gave us the Quimby Theater, which was a perfect venue under COVID because everybody could be.
Oh, it was at Ulster.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was at the Maritime.
Well, it was originally supposed to be, but there was a conflict. But in the end, I really think that this was a better, for the number of people we had and the facilities they had. It was,
comfortable. Yes.
It was like 57 online and the rest in person, and it was really a great, It was great. I learned an awful lot. I've got screenshots of things I have to go back and look up. There's books I have to go get and read. There's people who I have to keep. There was really some wonderful and fascinating, really got you thinking. It was interesting for me. In the middle of the day, there was a discussion by some people at the Somers Historical Society because they had been doing research into the Black history in their area. And it was basically to sort of say, here's some ways that you can research this. When they were done, they hadn't mentioned one thing that I had heard. I did with Taylor, in fact, a Zoom thing from a genealogist who was herself researching people of color, and she said that, and this is unfortunate, livestock records in the era of enslavement. So in Marbletown, apparently, and I've got to go at some point, and having recently come across the Marbletown Black burial ground, I have to do some research into this, but that's a way. It's so hard to find information on people of color, but that's one spot you can. So I interject at the end of it for comments and say, well, here's one you didn't say. This is really sad. I got thinking about it afterwards, and I realized that that I had read that Thomas Jefferson, in his livestock book, wrote about his chattel. And, and it was a real epiphany because I love Thomas Jefferson. I want to love him. He was ahead of his time. He was a Renaissance man, but that day I said, you can love Tom, and I always try to explain away, Sally Jennings was, the half sister of his beloved wife, who on her deathbed he said he wouldn't marry. Maybe they were in love. Sally Hemings was free in Paris. Why did she come home? Well, a 16-year-old girl. Her brother, who was being trained as a chef by Jefferson, came home, but he made a deal with Jefferson that he would be freed. But Jefferson made him train another slave to be the chef first. I walked away so I've tried to, maybe Sally loved Tom. None of this matters. Thomas Jefferson was a hypocritical rapist and enslaver, and rapist of his enslaved. Yeah. And this is a fact. And we as Americans, I as a historian, I'm ashamed of myself. I've been for years just trying to give Tom a break. There is no break.
Yeah.
The man who wrote "All men are created equal" should have freed his slaves. Yes. It would have been devastating for him. It doesn't matter. He was just another entitled white rich guy who cared more about his own self And, he inherited them all from the other rapist enslaver, his father-in-law. Let's go back the next generation. That's where did Sally Hemings come from? The only enslaved he freed were his children by Sally Hemings and Sally Hemings herself. Sally's brother does in fact train another slave and does get his freedom, and unfortunately dies a couple years later, I believe, in Baltimore. An alcoholic. I believe it's alcohol is his demise, but a man scarred by his experiences as being an enslaved individual. However benevolent people thought Thomas Jefferson was. But as a white man, it's time for me to stop making excuses for these people. It's more important that we really tell the truth.
The academic facts of the matter,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Historical accuracy.
It's an ugly truth and hard to face. But he was loaded. He was rich in people. George Washington too. He frees his slaves after he's dead. Well, in fact, he didn't. There was a catch to that. They were really free. In his will, they're freed upon Martha's death. And as I understand it, Martha freed them because now she had a target on her back. But those these
right.
This right? I mean,
Exactly.
they're cooking your food, okay? They're making your bed. Throughout the period of enslavement, the fear of slave revolt. It's why they wouldn't. They wouldn't teach them to read. Although Christians wanted them to read the Bible, but that backfired because then they knew how. It's just the treatment of other human beings. Our slavery is still, a defining factor for us as Americans.
There's different levels of that.
But it was, if I walked away from, I learned a great number of things at the Maritime Museum's conference on Black History. But I walked away. It was a real epiphany for me. Right. Thomas Jefferson, he doesn't get a pass from me anymore. He can't. So,
but that's the part of being a historian, that the history changes as you go more into it and you look into it and you understand it more. So, you, as a true historian, what you thought and what is right now are completely two different things when it comes to Thomas Jefferson. So it's very interesting to see that transformation from what you originally had researched and found out to where you're at now.
In the way that we historians present it to the world, we should no longer give these people a pass. We have to. From now on, you say Thomas Jefferson, I say hypocritical raping enslaver. You got to get the enslaver in there.
The elementary school history book synopsis of the history doesn't begin to, reveal what history really is.
I think Thomas Jefferson could have freed all his slaves and then hired the ones that wanted to stay, and could have still been, but it never occurred to him. But here's a man who's in his livestock book is writing. That's a chilling. That's where you're going to get information about them. Not
after the horses came the slaves, and then
the mules, because we started with mules.
Bill. That's it's apparent that he was also a victim of his time. Does he have, at that time when everyone were rich and entitled, Benjamin Franklin, all of these guys, was there a resource for them to look beyond what they were actually in with their culture at the time?
It's a good question. I mean, Benjamin Franklin, to my knowledge, did he have slaves?
They were all Christian, I don't think quote unquote Christian.
You want to get into that one now, Cameron?
The hypocrisy of religion, but let's not talk about
that. How much do they have to answer for? Christian, really?
The Inquisition, really?
I like to point. Jesus was a black Jew. Let's people. As a historian again, can I just say he was not. He didn't look like you or I, Cameron.
Not blonde. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus on the wall of the church.
No. He was. Just
So a minute or two left.
Well, let's see. I'll be doing a tour for free tour. Guided tour of the 5 Blocks Walk this Sunday at 2 o'clock.
Anything Halloween-y coming up?
Well, I'll get to that. I'll do them in order. Free tour for New York State's Path Through History. So this is Path Through History weekend. We'll go and do, I keep trying to mix it up and do something a little different, but people really like the 5 Blocks Walk tour.
It's awesome. I did it several years ago with my dad. It was cool.
And,
Father's Day. It was a Father's Day walk.
That falls into I think that's a Path Through History weekend as well.
Okay.
The next week, the 17th, is it? Yeah. I'm on my final voyage for this season on the Solaris. 2 weeks from this Sunday, I'll be doing Sunday afternoon with a historian, and hopefully my friend, the Cooper John Cox, is going to come, and we're going to show you a fascinating thing from our collection that's a barrel related. We're going to talk about coopering.
Is he going to make a barrel?
He's making barrels. He'll bring one of his barrels, and we'll utilize a surprise item from my collections. And I'm going to, as curators, we don't like to use things. I'm going to use it once in videotape, and it's something. It'll be in our new museum. And I just recently, Miriam Burham, who's I think she's the secretary of the High Falls Civic Association, but she has a business as a travel guide. And last year under COVID, she approached us and did a tour on the 5 Blocks Walk around Halloween. She reached out to me yesterday, and we're going to meet remotely. She's out working right now. She'd love to do a High Falls Halloween. We did it, the Civic, or really Anne from Kitchenette organized 4 or 5 years ago. We had 5,000 people come. We had Haunted High Falls. I don't think we're going to have the time, or I won't have the bandwidth to do anything that ambitious. But we want to do something on Halloween. It's a Sunday, do something in the town. People love that, I certainly know some great D&H-related ghost stories and the like. And so we'll figure out something, So we're even though we're not open, we're trying to provide. Well, we're doing what we can without it.
Awesome, Bill. We got to run. Unfortunately, thank you so much for.
Thank you as always.
Yeah, the half hour goes by.
And thank you, and we'll see you in a month.
Alrighty,
thanks.
Great.
All right, Dan.
Thank you, Nina Postupack, Cameron Rylance, and books worth of information from Bill Merchant today, and. We thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, 92.5 FM and AM 920, and streaming online at mykcr.org. 55 degrees this Tuesday, October 5th. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Robert Baum Commercial Realty, located at 79 St. James Street, Kingston, New York. Visit rgbaum.com for more information. We'll be right back after these messages.
Thanks for starting your day with Kingston Community Radio on 920 WGHQ AM Kingston and 92.5 W223 CR FM Kingston, New York. Magic 92.5.
Welcome back to The Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
The happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Shirley Stabe from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And we're back, and thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Rondout Savings Bank. Always working for you and our community with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park. Also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Cloudy with a slight chance of rain showers the rest of the day today, a high of 63. Cloudy with a slight chance of rain showers overnight with a low of 56 tonight, Tuesday night. And Wednesday, cloudy skies. That same slight chance of rain shower possible, a high of 69. And Wednesday night, considerable cloudiness with a low of 56. Thursday, partly to mostly cloudy. We've got a little bit of sun for Thursday. High of 73. A few clouds on Thursday night with a low of 56. Let's get back to the on-air studio with Nina Postupack, Cameron Rylance, and all of our new guests.
Yes, Nancy Chando, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Nancy.
For our monthly history spot. And you have a guest with you, so why don't you please introduce...
for Friends of Historic Kingston. Good morning, everybody. And we're fortunate enough today to have Frank Almquist, who just has a brand new book out called Building the Ashokan Reservoir. And I've been looking at this book for a few days and have Post-its everywhere because I'm finding it so interesting. It's part of the Images of America series. So, Frank, what can you tell us a little bit about how you got into doing this?
Well, I've been collecting postcards for many years and found these images of the reservoir. Originally, they were Kingston Souvenir Company published a bunch of the reservoir after it was finished, whiteboard cards, and they were very collectible. And then I found some of the construction. I said, well, man, this is wonderful, and started collecting those. And at that time, you could probably find them for $5, $6, $10, but now they've... even on eBay, they go for $50, $60.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're very rare.
So originally, were these postcards just like for communicating? Were they made as collectibles? Or
They were not. They were. I brought a few along.
Oh,
These cards are real photo postcards, and the photographers of the day. Now you're looking back at 1908, 1909, 1910. They printed these on photographic paper.
Wow, so this is an actual photograph,
an
exposed photograph.
Yep.
Wasn't printed. Wow.
Printed. And the interesting thing, the name I couldn't think of the other day when we were talking about this, Nancy, was a guy by the name of Longendijk. He lived on Clinton Avenue, and Clinton Avenue was right above where Herzog's is. And he had a photo studio there. So he could come down, get on the train, go up to the reservoir, take pictures all day long, come home, develop the film, and print postcards.
And sell them a couple
take
days
them
later.
Back up to,
How fortunate that that postcards were a big thing because it's all documented.
These were somebody else's iPhone with the pictures.
Oh,
in it.
Right. That's a really great analogy, Frank. You're right.
Nobody working
So there
up
was
there
really
was
no
carrying
way
a
other,
camera, right?
And nobody else had cameras. They were expensive.
Yeah, and hard to use, and the chemicals.
All kinds of
wow.
Great photography, too.
So was this guy, do you know anything about Longendijk? Was he commercially successful? Or was
he was very successful. Jane pulled a couple of things out of the archives for me. He used to do what they call flashlight parties. So the young girls in Kingston would have a party, and he'd have a flash camera with flash powder and make pictures at night. So that was a flashlight party.
Flashlight party where you could get the
But
flash.
it was very interesting. He stayed on Clinton Avenue until probably 1911 or so, when the reservoir people put a fence around the works because too many people were going in and looking around. So they stopped photographers and everybody from going into the site. So he moved, and I don't remember, but he moved up further into the Kingston rather than staying on Clinton Avenue. He found a nicer home.
Right.
But he probably did quite well.
Wow.
Well, I thought this was going to be a book of pictures because, of course, it's Images of America. But there's so much more than just pictures in this book because you've done an amazing amount of research. Every postcard has text that really describes what's happening.
Yeah, see, this is the question I had about the workers' case. Because I've seen there's a couple other publications over the years about the Ashokan. But it's like the human element is what intrigues me. I mean, there were thousands at any given moment. There were thousands of workers.
There were 4,000 people brought in at the height of the of the work. There were 4,000.
So they had camp. They're talking here about camps, different camps. Do they just likewise eminent domain that land as well and say, okay,
well, they were all part of the reservoir
here?
property.
Okay.
So when they came in, they had what was called a taking line that included 12 square miles of property. I had an old map of the taking line. I didn't want to do anything with it, so I took it up to the West Ashokan Library. They have it on file up there. But it's a map probably 3 by 2.5 feet with the line outlining all the property that belonged to New York State. or New York City, I should say.
Just thinking of starting this project from zero to finish is just amazing how they did this. And they had camps for the workers to live in. They had to make places for them to live. They had what did they have, like rec buildings in their camp where they could go after work, and no alcohol or card playing. I read that on one of the postcards.
Yeah, and I even see they had their own police force here.
Oh, yes. I
That's
read that.
very interesting.
The water
grew.
board.
Yeah.
Did that grow into the force that they have at the reservoir
Absolutely,
today?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They still have.
But
police.
just so that was a boon to the local farmers. Like eggs. I mean, biscuits, eggs. That 1910 diet. I mean, those guys had to have thousands of calories a day to work.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It was heavy work. You look at what you're doing.
They're digging a hole with shovels.
That was another project, doing the dikes. I thought the dikes came along later as they were building the dam. They started working on the dikes about the same time they started putting the dam together.
Oh.
Because they did 6 miles of diking around the reservoir. They built
to what? To make the water deeper, or to
deep
contain,
the water, the whole area from
to raise the basin,
to
if
raise
you will.
the basin.
Wow.
The whole area from the dividing weir all the way around to where the reservoir end is, and back up a little bit on the West Hurley side, is all diking.
They built the bank up. Wow.
And somehow they built a.
It's really not accessible through there, though.
You can drive. You can see it. The railroad, actually, the new rail trail
is above all that.
About where old Salvucci's is.
Okay.
It starts there. That's on the dike.
Oh.
That's on the old railroad.
Wow.
And the railroad, when they moved the U&D, they moved it over to the West Hurley, the Woodstock and the West Hurley Dike.
It's amazing. Some of the pictures
Just
of
the earth
workers here.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at.
Miles of dike.
And it's all by hand. Like that picture that you looked at before of the mules pulling the soil.
Yeah.
They have a scraper pulled by mules. It didn't have engines that were portable.
Yeah.
Wow. You're talking about the food, Cameron. They had a camp bakery here, right? And they supplied baked goods for every meal. Here they had 500 engineers where they cooked. Look at, there's a picture here of all the food for 500 people, 500 engineers for a conference where they came to see the construction methods and progress of the Ashokan Reservoir. Amazing.
When you look
That
go ahead.
Nita, that was an interesting story. There's a number of postcards. They didn't even show up in the book because they are really not meaningful. Of guys walking around on the dam and ladders and all on a weekend. There was no work on weekends. So these guys were in top coats and reasonably suits and that sort of thing, and dress shoes. And I said, that looks like it must be a conference or something going on. And working for IBM, you go to these things.
Right.
So I saw this picture. A friend of mine who's a dealer had it, and I said, I need a copy of that. So he scanned a whole bunch of these for me, and I used them and credits in there. But I said, they're civil engineers. So I went online to American Civil Engineer Society. I had to sign in to get into their archives. And in 1911, there was a conference in New York City. Looked at the agenda, and that was, and it ended on Friday. So either it was the weekend before or the weekend after that they had this trip.
Tour of the biggest public work thing ever. Wow.
From New York City, they probably took the day line up to Kingston, took the U&D train up, wandered around, looked at everything, had lunch, got back on the train, went back to the docks, took a ferry boat back to the day line back to New York City.
Wow.
Put all the pieces of the puzzle together from the story, from seeing them in the top hats and to finding out about the conference.
If you look at these pictures of these workers, I noticed they're on big, high areas that are frightening to look at, and some of them are working on heavy machinery, and I don't see a hard hat or any protective.
No, they have hats, but they're not hard hats, right?
Yeah, no, they're not hard
They'd be shut down by OSHA in a minute.
Yeah, they would.
There was no OSHA.
Yeah.
That's why there is OSHA, because of this.
Right.
Yeah, right.
The powder man. How many powder men did they go through when they...
Probably, I don't think many, but they had it. But guys were careful, and you have to be careful.
Yes.
But it just
Now, a lot of these things are in Brown Station. That's underwater, right?
yeah, Brown Station, the community sat about where the aerators are.
Oh, okay. All right, so it's not underwater.
But it's gone.
So when did they start filling this? It was built. Took what, 4 years to build?
Yeah, it's,
and then okay, fellas, I think we're about done now. Pull the cork on the diversion tunnels, or
well, there was a big tunnel called the a conduit that went through the dam. It was 40 feet wide and 40 feet high with a dome top, and it went 400 feet through the base of the dam. So it's a big opening that had to be plugged, and that was big enough to take the flow of the Ashokan
without filling the basement. Yeah, diversion.
So they had to close that. And that was done in September of 1913.
Was there a gate, or did they just start dumping rubble in there?
No, they had a small cofferdam, and there were a couple of pictures in there about how they put a form on the outside and a form on the inside, and they made a wall of concrete. It was low in September. There's usually low flow, and there was a 6-foot opening at the bottom of that for the water to flow through. So they cast this in masonry, probably about 10, 12 feet thick, on the inside face of the dam.
Okay.
And that took 2 days of steady masonry work, day and night. And they filled that, and that cured. Then they took the forms away, and then they could start closing that off. And in the meantime, they started packing that 400-foot tunnel with more masonry.
Was Rosendale cement used?
So the guys who...
Did you hear that? He asked if Rosendale cement was used.
No.
No.
It's interesting.
All the cement came from the plant up in Catskill.
Oh, okay.
The Ashland plant.
Okay, so they shipped it down on the river, then...
A train load of cement every week.
Wow.
Whoa.
And then they railroaded it, and then they horse pulled it into probably buggy, some sort of concrete wagons or something.
They used
right?
cableways. That was probably the greatest thing they...
I saw
a picture of that, yes.
They were immense. They could hold about 13 tons of material.
So where was the closest rail stop?
It was right in Brown Station.
Oh, right to. They built a spur or something, or?
UND came through West Hurley, and I started the book with going through the old community with the West Hurley line. And they came down through Brown Station, and then back out and up to Phoenicia. So they built everything right there. And there's a couple of blowed up maps from Lazarus White's engineering book that show the railroad tracks and all. Many years ago, I thought, gee, it'd be kind of fun to make this into an N-gauge train layout.
Yeah.
And I started looking at it get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that. Another thought just
took over the whole basement.
Yeah.
You have an engineering background, right?
Yeah.
Were you an engineer at IBM?
Yeah.
And tell us where you came from. You got here because you were coming to work at IBM, correct?
Yeah, it was, got hired into IBM, and after I left the Marine Corps, they were advertising for people to, I had a choice to go work on the DO line, which I didn't do, or come to IBM. And I said, well, Kingston looks like an interesting place. So I came here to school and then worked on the SAGE program. That was right at the end of it. It was a project to keep track of
air traffic, right?
Air traffic for enemy aircraft that were flying over the Russians, who were not friends at the time.
Okay, yeah.
And so it was just a big radar system and collected data and kept track of all the airplanes in the air. And we were probably, we brought up a site in San Bernardino, and we were about halfway done with that, and we finished it, brought it online, and the contract was canceled. So I came back and worked in the development lab in Poughkeepsie, and then into Kingston, and always in development work. It was a fun career.
Yeah.
So what got you interested in a big hole in the land in the Catskills?
Fly fishing.
You're
fly fishing the Esopus Creek, and you're fishing this wonderful water. You're getting trout that are 10, 12, 14 inches long, and enjoying the hell out of it. And you wonder where the water came from. Well, there's this big tunnel up here. What's that all about?
Yeah.
You try and find the source of it. Well, you go all the way to Gilboa. And what's it run into? It's this great big lake. Okay, where's that go? Well, that goes to New York City through another big tunnel.
Another tunnel, yeah.
So the whole thing just started to get more and more fascinating. And then that's where I started running into
That's
postcards.
cool.
And then the
Purely
postcard
organic.
collecting. How did you start collecting postcards?
Well, I go to a place, I look for old postcards about it, because just from a historical standpoint, what's it look like? And I have a bunch of postcards, probably 3 albums at Kingston. One day I'll give them to Jane, and put them in your archives.
Right. So this was perfect for you to collect postcards of the reservoir and have this, put them all together in this resource, which is so interesting. This one I want to mention when I was reading the book, and it's timely for us today. They actually, at the camps, they had a doctor's office with a doctor and 3 nurses who worked there, and a hospital in case
Doctor
anyone
was the barber too, right?
Yeah, right.
were sick. But they
Arm
also had the hospital and the doctors there to vaccinate the workers as they came into
Oh,
town.
yeah.
It was a mandate. They had to be vaccinated.
Well, Spanish flu was in that era, right?
Yeah.
And certainly there's other poxes and diphtheria and
All those
tetanus
things
and typhoid and the Europeans were bringing diseases over that weren't.
Half of the staff of workers were Italians. They had an operation in New York City, Italian Aid Society or something. I tried to look it up, but it's long gone. But it would help the Italians as they came in to get jobs. And many of them were brought right up to the reservoir.
Is that just the timing? Does that happen to be when the wave of Italian immigration was landing at Ellis Island?
So, yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like they sought out Italian
But
workers.
they had
It was
a
just
lot of them had the skills. They're stonemasons.
Italian
and all.
masons, they're famous.
And they chopped a lot of bluestone. I'm not sure they were all quarry workers on the quarries, or whether they did any actual design work in the stone. Probably not.
Yeah.
But they knew how to lay stone.
Had to lay stone, yeah.
There's a picture I found. It took a long time to find one of putting together what they called paving. You've been all up the reservoir, and on the water side of the reservoir, there's bluestone standing against the bottom, perpendicular to the slope of the curve.
The
dikes. That's all laid by hand.
Huh. Well, yeah.
There's no other way to bring it in.
There's a picture of that?
Angle that.
Yeah, in towards the back of it.
Wow. And that was for erosion control or to stabilize the
primarily
bank?
Erosion.
whatever?
Oh, the banks aren't going anywhere. They built core walls down to bedrock, all the way around the reservoir. Poured concrete walls as high as is needed, 10 feet below where the height of the water would be. And everything was measured in elevation above sea level. So it's 590, I think, for the lower basin.
So there's a perimeter of sorts around the entire reservoir?
All on the east basin.
East basin, okay.
On the west basin, there's a dike that goes from the dividing weir over to that point where the island where the monument is on.
Oh.
That's a dike that goes over that way.
Huh.
And the UND would come through there. It would come from West Hurley.
On that dike?
No, it was on the ground. It would go through into the hamlet of Brown Station, and around and head back out through another opening in the dike as they were building these dikes.
To let the railroad, because the train couldn't go over.
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
So they had to move the railroad out by middle of 1913.
And patch the hole, the tunnel holes. Huh.
It's amazing. I like the way you started the book with the valley before the reservoir. So, you give some credit to the people who had to lose their land by eminent domain. They took down the churches, the homes, cemeteries in some cases. And in fact, I was at the Ulster County Genealogical Society last week and looked up a book where they have lists of the removals of the people that were removed and where they took all the bodies to and buried them at a different location. So there was so much that had to be done before they could even begin all this work. It's just amazing. But it's good to give them credit. And some of the people didn't get paid even fair wages or fair property.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
Money for their property. I was reading that they kind of got
Nina was
cheated.
saying, I think early this morning, that Ulster County has court records from the proceedings of
Oh, yes, a lot of court
eminent
cases.
domain hearings or whatever.
Yeah, that's mentioned in the book. A lot of court cases because people were cheated out of what they
Sure.
Yes.
They didn't get anywhere near what they should, and it was ridiculous. In one of the books, I'm not. I think it's Wiedner's book, Water for a City. He goes into more detail. I think he was a New York State Assemblyman when he wrote the book, but he knows more in the legal parts of the whole thing. And he mentioned there the commissioners. There were 3 commissioners, and there was 7 or 8 commissions. They made big bucks.
Yeah.
And their whole job was to see how little money they can give to the landowners.
Well,
And we have all those records, from the water commissions.
Corporate raiders or greed. It's not.
I have to
It's
fit
not a
this
new
in
thing,
here.
huh?
On Sunday, October 24th, from 2 to 4 p.m., the Friends of Historic Kingston Gallery is going to have a book signing with Frank.
Oh,
so
that's
come by on
great.
Sunday afternoon, the 24th. You can get your book signed by Frank.
Yeah. So actually,
And
this is
buy
a
it
commercial
there.
endeavor. So how can our listeners obtain this
Where
book?
can they buy it?
At the book signings, I'll doing Hurley Heritage Society this Saturday on 2 to 4. If you're anxious to have one, you can run down to Monkey Joe's Coffee Shop. I've known the ladies there for years, and they have some down there.
I saw it in the new Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great.
I'm sure Herzogs would put some out for you. They have a lot of local books.
I hadn't even thought about her.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
have
do.
a lot of local
They
books.
may
yeah.
have them.
Yeah.
The card
Yeah,
store down in the
CVS
plaza has
CVS
usually the
carries
local
these
books,
books,
too.
too.
You can go down there.
Yeah.
Dan, you said something?
CVS carries a
Walgreens and CVS.
Oh,
A-
yeah,
a
yeah.
rotary
Well, there you
of
go. We
these
got to sell
books
these
as
babies
well.
for it.
It's
Yeah,
very
return on your
interesting.
investment here.
Well, the company hits all the big box stores.
Good.
Oh, okay.
So they help with distribution
They
and all
help-
that? Okay,
well,
good.
That's where they're making their money.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Acadia Publishing, cool.
It's an amazing book for those of you listening. We're sitting here looking at it, and it's hard to visualize what's in the book.
Yeah, I mean, if you
I
go-
would say just on the radio, but if you have the opportunity, go.
Yeah,
and
so anyone that's just casually strolled up the, or going to the aerators or been on the rail
Oh,
trail
yeah,
up
you
there.
have to
Yes.
get this
Yeah.
book.
To
Yeah.
see how all that, this isn't a beautiful natural,
No,
look at it. It's not like Lake Champlain or, it's not natural.
Do
It's,
you know
the
how
nice thing
many?
about it, though,
it's constructed.
when you drive over the dike past the Reservoir Inn and look across that basin, it looks like a mountain lake.
It does, yeah.
It
Like,
belongs there.
it does.
Yeah, it
Yes,
does.
and
But
I
it's
did an
correct.
amazing
job.
should just be a little crappy little creek through a valley, right? I mean,
How
the
many
Sopus.
pictures are in this book? Do you have a number?
How long does it take to fill? Any idea? I mean, the Sopus isn't very. I mean, I'm sure there's some side streams.
There were a friend of mine has a picture. I don't know where he got it. We're gonna get together one day and give it to me, or give me a copy of it, of a whole bunch of guys standing with their backs to the camera at the reservoir, trying to fill the reservoir.
By themselves?
By themselves.
That's a great
Because
picture.
There was a lot of talk about
got a long way to go.
taking a long time to fill, but I think it was 1916 when it actually reached full pool, and they closed it in 13. So,
Huh. So
there's
roughly 3
12
years.
square miles of surface water.
And there's some deep spots.
Oh,
I mean, I've fished in 80 feet of water up there, so there's
Oh, yeah.
there's some deep spots. I
And,
imagine.
and behind the main dam, it's probably close to 150, 160
Really?
feet. Yeah.
Oh.
Huh. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot. In fact, the last
Do you know the capacity?
I've heard the number. I don't
cubic
remember how
hectare.
many.
They measure
how
it in
many,
like incredible.
cubic feet.
Yeah,
but
something.
I couldn't give you a number that would be any close to accurate.
Yeah.
There's a picture right near the back of the book. The New York State published a fishing map, and it's double page.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. That's depth.
And that's the only map I've seen that shows where the dikes are. You can see in looking over on the East Basin where the dikes, the contour lines are close together.
Oh, yeah.
And indicating where the dikes are actually
Yep.
on the bottom.
Huh. It's good fishing there. Wiedner's Point. Wow.
Well, I think this is going to be a
So
popular
Frank,
book.
Yeah,
in
no,
this
Frank,
series.
so much.
Yes.
This is you've been.
Please come
it's been
to
awesome.
Friends of Historic Kingston on the 24th from 2 to 4 on a Sunday. And other places that Frank has some book signings. They'll probably be advertising on Facebook for their signings as well, and we will too, at Friends of Historic Kingston. And pick up this book because I've enjoyed being at the reservoir, but I knew a little bit about it, but I think I learned a lot more about it. And I appreciate all the text and the time that you put into this book. And put all these postcards in one place is a good thing, too.
It's an awesome holiday gift.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So great. All right, we got about a minute left.
How about if we sign off with the Ashokan?
Oh, yes, that's right.
By Jay Unger. So next time you go to the Ashokan, think of Jay Unger and pick up this book.
And Molly Mason.
Thank you so much, Frank, for coming in. Good luck with your book, and I hope everybody picks up a copy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. You've been with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and we thank for a terrific Tuesday Nina Postupack and Cameron Rylance. And incredible guests. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio, we had guests Frank Almquist and Nancy Chando about the new book about Ashokan. Look for it in your local stores. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and the community with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park. Also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. And thank you for sharing the morning with us and being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio. Talk radio at its best. Inspired discussions of, by, and for the community. And we invite you to be with us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for a Super Wednesday. And until tomorrow, we wish you every success in growing and developing Kingston and all our neighboring communities. We now return you to Magic 92.5.